Hello and welcome back to the How to Make Partner podcast, the video edition. I'm your host, Heather Townsend. A question I was really recently asked in a coaching session was, how do you become a recognized leader in your field? After all, you've done it with two topics. So what can we learn from your story? It's a question about building a powerful personal brand, one that makes clients seek you out. After all, who doesn't really want the phone to ring, clients to come ready made, want to work with you without having to do any of this selling thing or having to put ourselves out there? Now, this becoming that recognized expert, becoming that client attraction magnet, it doesn't happen by luck. It happens by design. It's a playbook. I've run it many times, and today I'm going to share that playbook with you. So, this is Heather Townsend, and this is the How to Make Partner podcast video edition with me, Heather Townsend, the author of Voice of Partnership and co-author of How to Make Partners Still Have a Life. In fact, I even wrote the book, The Go-To Expert. And in this video episode, I'll be highlighting some of the great stuff in our Progress to Partner Academy. There's a link in the show notes. New episodes are released weekly, so press subscribe so you never miss a new episode. The foundation of a strong personal brand is built on two simple but powerful words: consistency and commitment. And it took over a decade of consistent work for me to earn the right for people to call me for my expertise. And in fact, in the last 2 months, we were called on, because of the book I wrote, How to Make Partners Still Have a Life, to run a massive leadership program in India with an Indian law firm and their partners. They wouldn't have come to me if they hadn't have read that book. But before you think about consistency, before you think about commitment, it starts with one decision: the commitment. What do you want to be known for? Now, the more narrow you can make your expertise, the easier it is to establish it, because you aren't fighting in the same crowded pond as everybody else. To find your niche or your specialism or your thing, some people hate that niche word. You need to ask yourself 3 questions. What am I passionate about? What work genuinely interests and excites me? People have gone, how have you been able to just keep going on about how to make partner for the last 20 years? Because I love it. I love the people. I love the people in the professions. I love helping move that really well-liked fee earner into a rainmaker, into a business leader. I just love that transition. And because I love my audience, because I love my topic, I keep on thinking, oh, well, maybe I've run out of things to write about. And then something comes along and I've got more stuff to learn, more stuff to write about. In fact, just this month, we put together a new personal assessment on, have I got what it takes to excel as a junior partner? It's not yet out there in the public, but it's just another thing. It opens up more doors. And I'm passionate about this stuff. The next question is, what am I credible in? Where do my experience results already speak for themselves? And before I went on my own, I'd spent 4 years working for BDO, a top 5 accountancy practice in the UK. I'd done a huge amount with fee earners, their leadership skills. I personally learned how to do business development, read the books, did my own research, applied that to my audience. And then, part of the work I did around the Financial Times Guide to Business Networking, How to Make Partners Still Have a Life, The Go-To Expert, those were 3 of my core books. I went and interviewed over 100 people across those 3 books. So I got the inside track. I learned what it did to do. As a result, I come across as incredibly credible. But the last question, and the key one, is there a market for it? Are people willing to pay for this expertise right now? And let's just take when the pandemic hit in the UK. Suddenly, that my How to Make Partner income went from that to whoop, right down there. However, I had the other side of my business. People were still interested in, what does it take to grow up? Actually, has it happened, a small accountancy firm that balanced it out. But very, very quickly, people came back and said, we still need to develop our fee earners. We still need to have this conversation. People were going, it's getting harder now to make partner, therefore I need more help. So there still was a market for it. Right. Once you've defined your niche, your thing, your specialism, the next step is to credentialize yourself. My playbook has always been to build a body of work that demonstrates my expertise. Years ago, that meant blogging. That then led to the book. That led to more articles. Today, I'm actually starting to do more stuff about writing, podcasting. Look, this is a video, starting a newsletter. And actually, I think the book will now follow. But the goal is to consistently put your best stuff out there for people to see. Let's go back to those first two words I said. This brings us back to the engine of brand building, consistency and commitment. So when I look at my Startup to Grown Up podcast article on Substack, I've been doing this at the time of recording this for a year. And I have written over 52 articles. And when I started podcasting, I added a podcast episode. So that I've just put in number 29 episodes. And I have literally done one every single week. And I've done it to build up, credentialize myself around not just growing small accountancy firms, but growing small professional service firms, whether they're law firms, accountancy firms, coaching, consulting. And, I'm building that body of work to credentialize myself. And you've got to ask yourself, do I always feel like writing an article every week? The answer is no. There are some weeks that it's like I am literally wading through treacle to get those words out of me. But that's what commitment is. And I'm committing now to writing another 52 articles for that Substack, because this body of work just builds and compounds. And it's that commitment that builds momentum and eventually a reputation. And it's not just about your words, whether that's written, whether that's videoed, whether that's audible, recorded. You've got to commit to your chosen platform. I was talking to a good friend of mine, Susan Heaton Wright, and I was going, well, my Substack's nearly 2,000 people. He said, well, my LinkedIn newsletter is nearly 2,000 people. I'm like, okay, righty-ho. We both committed to our chosen platform. And it doesn't matter whether it's a LinkedIn newsletter, a Substack, a podcast, or whatever. You've just got to turn up consistently and always aim to be helpful. This consistent, generous effort is what builds a brand that lasts and attracts the high quality work you want. Yeah, it's a slow burn, of course it is, but it works. So to recap this episode, define your niche. So get specific by finding the intersection of your passion, credibility, and a viable market. Make sure also that it aligns with your firm's strategy. Credentialize yourself. Consistently create and share valuable content that proves your expertise, and commit to consistency. Choose your platform and show up regularly over the long term. This is a non-negotiable. Now, if you're listening and thinking, I know I need a strong brand, but I feel like I have nothing unique to say, I don't know where to start, that's a very common feeling. It's why having a clear plan for your business development and your content is essential. And if you go into Progress to Partner Academy, the course How to Become the Go-To Expert in our Progress to Partner Academy is the perfect place to start. I popped a link in the show notes to it. I've also put a little bit of a discount for you. The course will take you through the steps of defining your personal brand and creating that content plan that builds your reputation and gets you noticed. Also, in the show notes, you'll find links to my books, Poised for Partnership, How to Make Partners Still Have a Life, The Go-To Expert, The Financial Guide to Business Networking, and you'll easily find them on Amazon. And as a thank you for listening, there's even a link for a 10% discount on our annual membership of our Progress to Partner Academy, which is packed with resources to help you drive your own development effectively. Now, let's bring this to a close. That's all for this videoed episode of the How to Make Partner podcast. What is one niche area you could commit to owning? Start there. Now, if you've enjoyed this episode, please put a comment here on YouTube, or go over to Substack and put a comment there. This helps us get the word out to others who may need this advice too. Remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. Thank you for listening.